So you're just a leech living off your parents at your ripe old age, huh? Lily, leeches should get lost. This is going to be our house. My 8-year-old niece, Emily, spat out these hurtful words, grinning. My sister Anne and her husband Sam were snickering next to Emily. I could guess the kind of parenting they were doing, given the outrageous statement from an 8-year-old. I no longer felt any need to forgive them, my niece, my sister, or her husband. I felt the pent-up anger inside me flare up. My name is Lily. I live with my parents at our family home. I used to live on my own, but I moved back home because I was worried about my aging parents. I love my work and I'm not at all interested in relationships. I never intended to get married, and one of the reasons I decided to live at home was to cherish the time I had with my parents. My dad was a chef and he's really good at cooking. Even after retiring, he cooks for us at home, and I always look forward to meals. Having lived alone, I miss my dad's cooking, which is one of the reasons why I returned home, but that's a secret. When I decided to live with them and support the household, my mom retired from the part-time job she'd held for many years. She was hesitant, but I suggested it might be the right time. Both my mom and dad had been doing a lot of standing at their jobs and had sometimes thrown out their backs. I convinced them to quit their jobs, telling them there was no need to push themselves since I was supporting the household. I'm a mess outside of work and I'm not good at housekeeping, so I appreciate that my parents are at home doing chores. It's a win-win relationship between my parents and me. Disrupting the stable life are my sister Anne, her husband Sam, and their 8-year-old daughter Emily. Almost every week, they show up at our house uninvited, driving 30 minutes for a free meal. Anne justifies their visits by saying it helps them save on food expenses. Raising the child is costly, and Sam neither denies nor hides this. They would eat the meals my dad cooked as if it was their right and leave without even cleaning up. This routine has become their weekly habit. It might have been tolerable if they just came, ate, and left. But Anne's other behaviors were unacceptable. Every time before leaving, she would scrounge around her house, taking items she thought she could sell on an online flea market app. As a result, I've had to hide my accessories and imported clothes in the back of my closet. On top of that, she rummages through our fridge, taking food without asking. When I confronted her, saying this would be considered theft if she were a stranger, she dismissed me, saying, "You wouldn't understand, Lily. It's tough to run a household when you're married." But Anne isn't the only selfish one. Emily, who takes after her mother, has become increasingly like her as she's grown up. "Ew, this is gross." Emily made a sour face at the meal my dad had prepared. Neither Anne nor Sam scolded her. My dad, a retired chef who takes pride in his cooking, would never make anything that tasted bad. Yet Emily complained, "I can't eat this. It's disgusting. I want cake." When Sam heard Emily's demand for cake, he turned to me and asked, "Do we have any cake? Emily seems to want some." I couldn't help but frown and respond, "Ha." Sensing potential trouble, my father quickly stepped between us, apologetically saying, "Sorry, we didn't prepare any cake. Did you not enjoy today's meal, Emily?" Emily remained displeased. "Oh, Isiaki, I only want to eat sweet things. Desserts are the best. I don't want to eat Grandpa's food." "Oh, I find it convenient and it saves us on grocery bills, so it's fantastic. But if Emily says so, we have no choice." "Dad, Mom, please prepare some sweets and cake for Emily next week," Sam said. I couldn't forgive Anne for accepting Emily's selfishness and for bossing our parents around. However, if I spoke out now, our already shrinking parents would feel even more troubled. I pitied my parents, unable to complain as Anne's family left as usual after looking through our house. I couldn't believe their audacity, behaving that way just because it's their parents' house. It was unforgivable. My mother apologized, blaming herself for not having the cake ready, while my father quietly disposed of the leftover food meant for Emily. It pained me to see my parents act this way. The next week, I debated whether to ask Anne and her family to stop visiting, only to have them show up at our door once again without warning. They walked in as if it were their right, asking, "Is dinner ready?" Emily complained about the cake my mother had bought, insisting she wanted one with more strawberries. Sam took charge of the TV remote without asking. Watching my sister and her family act so entitled left me stunned. While my father's cooking was served, Anne and Sam enjoyed their meal, chatting and sharing a bottle of wine. Emily, unhappy with the cake and refusing to eat her dinner, played games on her phone, remarking, "Grandpa and Grandma are really useless." desperate for them to leave, and suddenly chirped, "Oh, by the way, we've decided to move into this house starting next week." Huh. My voice echoed with surprise, and it seemed my parents, equally taken aback, hadn't heard this before. Sam chimed in to support Anne's announcement, saying, "Driving here every week is a hassle. Living together will save on groceries and rent." Struggling to find my voice, I finally objected, "Wait a minute, this is sudden. We don't have enough rooms, and you're planning to live here without contributing financially. That's presumptuous." Anne and Sam's faces twisted at my words, but it was Emily who spoke up first. "Lily is just a leech living off her parents. Leeches should leave. This will be our house," she said smugly, earning stifled laughs from her parents. I couldn't believe an 8-year-old could speak like that. I was stunned that Emily, at such a young age, called me a leech. It seemed clear that Anne and Sam had influenced her to see me in such a negative light. "No, Emily, don't say that. You'll hurt Lily's feelings," Anne interjected, trying to defuse the situation. "I don't want to live with Lily. I want her gone by next week. It's embarrassing to live with a parasite. What if my friends find out?" Emily stared at me disdainfully, with Anne and Sam chuckling beside her. Anger surged through me after enduring their behavior for so long. "All right, I will leave by next week, as you wish," I replied calmly. Anne's family seemed pleased with my answer, laughing as they always did without offering to help clean up. My parents looked terrified at the thought of living with Anne's family, but they seemed relieved when I suggested a solution. There was so much to organize before Anne's family moved in. With my parents' help, we got everything in order, and it was a great relief. The house was cleaned and prepared just as Emily had requested. The day arrived when Anne's family was supposed to move in, and I busied myself organizing in my new place. I missed my old house where I had lived for so many years, but the new place was nice, and I felt a sense of relief knowing that I wouldn't be irritated every time Anne's family visited. While I was engrossed in cleaning, my phone rang again, showing numerous missed calls from Anne. I picked up. "Lily, why didn't you pick up earlier? There's a problem with our house," Anne cried. "Well, it's my house actually. I've already demolished it," I said, half jokingly. Anne screamed, "What have you done?" I could only imagine their shock when they arrived to find the house in the midst of demolition. You see, when I had moved back to support my parents, the house was transferred to my name. It was my decision to demolish it. I felt it was better to knock it down than let Anne's family take it over. The house was old anyway, and my parents agreed with my choice. I wanted my parents to enjoy their retirement, so I took care of all their expenses. Emily's comments about me being a parasite were therefore completely misguided. I explained all of this to Anne. "You and Emily have said a lot of hurtful things about me. It's not right to teach your daughter to behave like that. It would be unfortunate if Emily ended up following your example," I told Anne, my voice laced with sarcasm. She appeared more shocked than remorseful. After selfishly criticizing me, she came to me almost in tears, asking, "What should we do? We've already ended our lease and moved out of our previous house. We'll be homeless. Emily is only 8 years old." "Maybe it will teach Emily a lesson about facing challenges," I replied casually, continuing to clean. Anne started crying. "How can you be so heartless?" I thought that should be my question. Who was it that insulted me repeatedly through their words and through their daughter? I asked her. "I'm sorry, I'll make Emily apologize too. Please, just for tonight, let us stay in your new place," Anne begged. "No, I can't do that. Both Mom and Dad are afraid to see you now. Your negativity always upsets them. They love our new home, and I won't let you ruin our happiness. I'm hanging up now. I'm busy," I said firmly, ending the call. Wait, please." Anne was still yelling, but I mercilessly hung up the phone. Afterwards, Anne kept calling numerous times, but I ignored her. It seemed like she also tried to reach out to our parents, but they too ignored her calls. Eventually, the relentless calls stopped. Presumably, Anne and her family managed to find a place to stay. When I wondered where they went, my mother explained the situation to Dad and me a few days later. Apparently, Anne had been sending messages to Mom via text only. It seems she's now staying with Sam's parents. Sam's mom, Anne's mother-in-law, is a very strict woman when it comes to rules and manners. Anne disliked her and appears to be struggling living under the roof of such a stern mother-in-law. Emily, too, who used to be spoiled rotten, seems to be learning a lot from this strict mother-in-law. There's no doubt she would have grown into a terrible adult if she continued her old ways. So, in retrospect, this seems to be a good thing. It may be tough on Emily, but it's unavoidable. I hope she'll manage to become a well-mannered grown-up. It seems Anne and Sam were more broke than we imagined. Sam was a fan of gambling, frequently squandering his money on various bets, and wasn't against gambling and didn't stop him, even enjoying it with him at times. However, they accumulated a substantial amount of debt due to their gambling. In order to repay this debt, it seems that they wanted to live with our parents. I was dumbfounded by how audacious their reason was. Sam ended up returning to his parents' house but reportedly disappeared after a few days. Whether he ran away of his own accord due to being chased by debt collectors or was forcibly taken away to work was unclear. Regardless, since he left a note saying, "I'm leaving home, please don't search for me," the police treated it as a case of him simply leaving home. Anne, without any savings, is now apparently working multiple jobs from dawn to dusk. She's sending daily messages to Mom about her hardships, but it seems Mom has no intention of helping Anne. "We raised her that way, but I think this is a necessary trial for her," Mom said. "For your information, our parents and Sam's parents are on good terms and frequently communicate." When Mom apologized to Sam's mom for the trouble caused by Anne and Emily, Sam's mom energetically responded, "Having these kids who are worth educating has added some spice to my life. I apologize for the trouble my son caused. As an apology, I'll make sure to educate my daughter-in-law and granddaughter well. Anyway, my parents and I are relieved to have cut ties with Anne and her family. We're relishing the fact that we can now spend our days without the constant dread and annoyance." Dad, who had lost some confidence in his cooking after Emily's criticism, is now joyfully showing off his culinary skills. "Thanks to our new house with a spacious kitchen, I've always loved Dad's cooking, and every time I say, 'delicious,' he seems more motivated to cook." Mom, who used to get exhausted every time Anne's family visited and lost the energy to go outside, is now often going out since we moved. She joined a local club and resumed her old hobby of painting. My mom's forte is watercolor painting. She's always joyfully crafting her artwork under the gentle guidance of her teacher. Recently, she's been heading out to the park, sketchbook in hand, to draw various objects and scenes. We're eagerly looking forward to the upcoming exhibition by the art club my mom is a part of, and we plan to attend. My life continues as it always has, busy but enjoyable as I continue doing the work I love. The constant nagging from my sister and her family has finally ceased, reducing my stress levels significantly. It wasn't until I felt this relief that I realized just how much stress they had been causing me. It's refreshing to remember just how bright and cheerful I can be. My parents are aging, but they are enjoying their lives now, which makes me happy. Even if they eventually need care, our home is equipped with accessibility features, making caregiving easier. Lily, thanks to you, we are so happy. We truly appreciate it, my mother often says. My father echoes her sentiments with a warm smile. Indeed, my devotion to my parents was born from a desire not to have regrets when the inevitable separation comes. However, seeing them so pleased is the greatest reward. I want to continue living this slow-paced, warm life and will do what I can to ensure our daily lives remain this way. Mark Thompson, at 50 years old, had poured decades of passion into perfecting his craft at Savory Haven, a culinary gem nestled in the heart of Austin, Texas. Known for its welcoming atmosphere and exquisite dishes, the restaurant had become a beloved institution drawing food lovers from across the city. Mark's dedication to quality was matched by his head chef, Ethan, a 38-year-old culinary genius with a sharp mind and a keen sense of flavor. Together, Mark and Ethan had built a reputation that set Savory Haven apart from its competitors. However, their success faced a new challenge when a fast food joint named Quick Burger opened nearby, enticing away many loyal customers with cheap, quick meals. Initially dismissing it as a passing trend, Mark soon realized the serious impact on his business as months passed and the decline continued. One evening, after another disappointing night, Mark stayed late at the restaurant, poring over financial records and customer feedback. The numbers painted a grim picture, and loyal patrons were voicing concerns about declining food quality and service. Determined to uncover the cause, Mark began scrutinizing the kitchen's operations more closely. He noticed subtle changes, ingredients being swapped, longer preparation times, and a lack of coordination among the staff. His suspicions deepened until one fateful night when he overheard Ethan in a heated conversation with another staff member. "Just stick to the plan," Ethan said sharply. "Once we're out of here, this place will sink, and I'll be at the new spot with a fresh start." Mark's heart sank as he realized Ethan had been sabotaging Savory Haven to secure a position at a rival eatery. Feeling a mix of betrayal and anger, Mark knew he had to act swiftly. The next day, he confronted Ethan and, despite years of trust and partnership, made the difficult decision to fire him on the spot. Mark's voice trembled with emotion as he confronted Ethan, his trusted chef. "I trusted you, Ethan. How could you do this?" Ethan remained stoic, offering no apologies, just a shrug before he walked out, leaving Mark to confront the aftermath. Despite Ethan's dismissal, the damage was irreparable. Savory Haven's once impeccable reputation lay in ruins, and Mark found himself sinking deeper into debt. Desperate to salvage his dream, Mark reluctantly made the gut-wrenching decision to sell the property. With a heavy heart, he prepared to close Savory Haven for good. As he made his final rounds through the now empty dining room, a profound sense of loss washed over him. This restaurant had been his passion, his life's work, and now it was slipping away. With tears in his eyes, Mark stepped outside to the back alley, where he noticed movement in the shadows. Approaching cautiously, he discovered Sarah and her young daughter, Emily, huddled there in obvious distress. Sarah explained they had been using the alley as a makeshift shelter and relied on the restaurant for food. Now, with Savory Haven closed, they had nowhere else to go. Mark's heart sank as he realized they were homeless. Their plight mirrored his own struggles in a poignant way. Moved by their situation, Mark made a spontaneous decision. "Stay," he told them gently. "You can help me clean up this place in exchange for food and shelter." Sarah hesitated, clutching Emily tightly, overwhelmed by Mark's unexpected generosity. "We don't want to impose," she murmured. "You're not imposing," Mark insisted, his voice soft but resolute. "You and your daughter deserve a safe place to stay, and I could use the help getting this place in order before I'm selling it." Mark's voice trailed off, the weight of his decision still heavy on his mind. Sarah studied him carefully, searching his face for any hint of an ulterior motive. But all she saw was genuine compassion. Slowly she nodded, a tentative smile spreading across her face. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "This means more to us than you know." And so Sarah and Emily made themselves at home in the quiet, empty restaurant, throwing themselves into the task of cleaning and organizing the space. Mark was amazed at their efficiency and care. Over the next few days, he found himself drawn deeper into their world, discovering a glimmer of hope amidst the ruins of his dream. Mark watched in awe as Sarah and Emily breathed new life into Savory Haven. With Sarah's attention to detail and Emily's infectious energy, the once neglected dining room began to regain its former glory. They cleaned every nook and cranny, organized the kitchen, and polished the silverware. Witnessing their dedication, Mark couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of hope. One evening, after a long day of cleaning, Mark sat down with Sarah to share a simple meal she had prepared. The aroma of the food filled the air, reminiscent of better days. "This is delicious," Mark said warmly, taking a bite. "You're a talented cook, Sarah." Sarah blushed, her smile widening. "Thank you. I used to cook a lot before everything happened." Sarah's voice trailed off, a hint of sadness in her eyes. Mark was curious about her story but didn't want to pry. Instead, he shared a bit of his own. "You know, this place was my dream. I spent years building it up, making it what it was. And then Ethan, he betrayed me," Mark confessed. Sarah looked at him with sympathy. "I'm sorry. Betrayal is a hard thing to overcome," she murmured. "My husband John left us one day. He just walked out, leaving me and Emily with nothing. We lost our home, everything. I've been trying to find steady work ever since, but it's been tough." Mark felt a deep sense of empathy for Sarah. They both knew what it was like to have everything ripped away. "I understand," he said quietly, "but you're strong, and you're doing a great job here. I couldn't have asked for better help." As the days turned into weeks, Mark, Sarah, and Emily formed a close bond. They worked together tirelessly, transforming Savory Haven inch by inch. Mark was continually impressed by Sarah's culinary skills. She had an innate talent for combining flavors and creating mouth-watering dishes. One day, as Mark watched Sarah prepare a meal, he had an idea. "Sarah, how would you feel about becoming the head chef here when we reopen?" he asked earnestly. Sarah was taken aback. Me, a head chef, Mark? I don't know what to say. I've never worked in a professional kitchen before. But you're talented and you care about this place. I think we can bring Savory Haven back to life together, Mark said with conviction. Please think about it. Sarah hesitated, but the hope in her eyes was unmistakable. I'll think about it, Mark. Thank you for believing in me. With renewed purpose, they continued their work. Mark reached out to potential investors, knowing he needed financial backing to fully restore the restaurant and attract customers again. Finally, the day arrived when the prospective investors were scheduled to visit. Mark was a bundle of nerves but also excited. This was their chance to save Savory Haven. As the investors arrived, Mark and Sarah welcomed them warmly. They showcased the newly renovated dining area, highlighting the changes they had made. The investors seemed impressed, but the true test would be Sarah's cooking. Mark watched anxiously as the investors sampled Sarah's dishes. He could see their expressions shift from skepticism to delight. Michael Carter, a well-respected businessman, was particularly enthusiastic. "This food is incredible," he exclaimed. "The flavors, the presentation, everything is top-notch." Just as Mark began to feel optimistic, the door opened, and in walked John, Sarah's ex-husband. He immediately recognized Sarah and Emily, his face contorting with a mixture of shock and rage. "What the hell is going on here?" John bellowed. "Sarah, get over here with Emily right now." Sarah froze, her body going rigid with fear. Emily clung tightly to her mother, eyes wide with terror. Mark quickly stepped in, positioning himself between John and Sarah. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," Mark said firmly. "This is my restaurant, and I won't tolerate any kind of abuse or harassment." John sneered. "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I'm about to make you an offer you can't refuse. This place is a gold mine, and I want in." Mark felt his blood boil. "I think you're forgetting something," he said through gritted teeth. "This is my restaurant, and I don't take kindly to people who threaten my staff." John laughed harshly. "Your staff? That woman over there is my wife, and that little girl is my daughter. I have every right to be here." Before Mark could respond, Michael Carter stepped forward. "Well, Mr. Thompson," he said calmly, "it seems you have quite a situation on your hands. But I believe in what you're doing here. I'd be honored to invest in Savory Haven on one condition." Mark felt a glimmer of hope, and what would that be? Michael smiled warmly at Sarah and Emily. "I want Sarah and Emily to remain a part of the team. Their contribution to this restaurant is undeniable, and I won't have it any other way." Mark nodded firmly. "Done. Thank you, Mr. Carter. This means the world to us." John's face twisted with anger, but he knew he was defeated. Cursing under his breath, he stormed out of the restaurant, his dreams of exploiting its success crumbling around him. As the investors finalized their agreement with Mark, he felt a surge of relief and gratitude. Savory Haven had a future once more, thanks to the unexpected alliance with Sarah and Emily. With the investment secured, Mark, Sarah, and Emily plunged into the task of fully restoring the restaurant. The transformation was stunning. The dining area was renovated with warm, inviting colors and elegant furnishings that created a cozy yet sophisticated atmosphere. However, the true showpiece was the kitchen, a state-of-the-art facility designed to accommodate Sarah's culinary magic. As they worked together, Mark and Sarah grew closer. Their shared experiences and mutual respect blossomed into a deep friendship. Emily, with her boundless energy and infectious laughter, brought a sense of joy and family to the restaurant. It was a time of hard work but also of healing and renewal for all of them. Mark was continually amazed by Sarah's culinary skills. Her creativity and passion for food were evident in every dish she prepared. One afternoon, as they were finalizing the new menu, Mark turned to Sarah. "You know, Sarah, I've tasted food from some of the best chefs in the world, but nothing compares to your cooking. I'm truly lucky to have you here," Mark said sincerely. Sarah blushed and smiled gratefully. "Thank you, Mark. That means a lot to me. I never imagined I'd have this opportunity again." Mark nodded, a serious look crossing his face. "And I never imagined finding someone who could save this place. We're a team now, and together, I know we can make Savory Haven better than ever." Finally, reopening day arrived, and the restaurant was packed with eager diners. Word had spread about the new and improved Savory Haven, and anticipation filled the air. Mark and Sarah were both nervous and excited, hoping their hard work would pay off. As the evening progressed, it became clear that their efforts had not been in vain. The diners were delighted with the food, praising the flavors and presentation. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and for the first time in a long while, Mark felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. Amid the bustling activity, Mark couldn't help stealing glances at Sarah. She moved through the kitchen with grace and confidence, directing her team of chefs with precision. The energy in the kitchen was palpable, and the aromas wafting into the dining room made even the most discerning foodie's mouths water. Towards the end of the night, after the last dish had been served and the last patron had left, Mark found Sarah sitting at a table in the now empty dining room. Her eyes shone with a mixture of exhaustion and pride. "Sarah," Mark said softly, sitting down across from her, "I don't know how to thank you for what you've done. This place is alive again, and it's all because of you." Sarah looked up at him, her eyes glistening with emotion. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mark. You gave me a chance when no one else would. You believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself," Sarah said earnestly. Mark reached across the table, gently taking her hands in his. "That's because you're extraordinary, Sarah. From the moment I met you at Emily in that alley, I knew there was something special about you. And now, seeing you in action, leading this kitchen with such passion and skill." He paused, taking a deep breath. "I don't want to lose you, Sarah. Not again." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she realized the implication of his words. "Mark, what are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. In response, Mark dropped to one knee, never breaking eye contact with her. "Sarah, will you marry me?" For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Sarah stared at him, her eyes wide with disbelief, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never dared to dream that her life could take such an unexpected turn, that the man who had saved her and her daughter from despair would now be offering her his heart. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes," she breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, Mark. I will marry you," Sarah said, her voice filled with joy and relief. Mark let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding and rose to his feet in one fluid motion. He swept Sarah into his arms and twirled her around the empty dining room, their laughter echoing through the space like a joyful symphony that seemed to breathe new life into the very walls of Savory Haven. As they held each other close, Mark knew this moment marked more than just the reopening of his restaurant. It was the start of a new chapter filled with love, hope, and the promise of a future brighter than either of them could have imagined. 3 months later, Savory Haven was thriving. The restaurant's new look, combined with Sarah's exceptional culinary skills, had restored its former glory and more. Word of mouth spread quickly, and soon they had a waiting list of patrons eager to experience the magic of Savory Haven. Mark and Sarah settled into a comfortable routine, balancing the demands of the restaurant with their growing relationship. Emily, now a familiar and beloved presence at Savory Haven, brought joy and laughter to everyone who worked there. The once struggling restaurant had transformed into a bustling, lively place filled with the sounds of happy diners and the delicious aromas of Sarah's cooking. One evening, as the restaurant buzzed with activity, Michael Carter walked in with a group of prominent local business people. Mark greeted him warmly and showed them to a specially reserved table. The excitement in the air was palpable. This visit could lead to even more opportunities for Savory Haven. As Sarah prepared the evening's special menu, Mark couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He watched her move with confidence and grace, orchestrating her team like a minstrel conducting a symphony. Every dish that left the kitchen was a testament to her skill and dedication. After dinner, Michael approached Mark with a broad smile on his face. "Mark, this place is phenomenal. Sarah's cooking is out of this world. We're all incredibly impressed." Mark beamed. "Thank you, Michael. We've put a lot of hard work into making Savory Haven what it is today." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "I have a proposition for you. We're looking to invest in a few top-tier restaurants to create a new dining experience across the city. We'd like Savory Haven to be the flagship." Mark's eyes widened in surprise. "That's an incredible offer, Michael. I'd need to discuss it with Sarah, of course, but it sounds like a fantastic opportunity." Michael smiled. "Take your time. I'm confident you'll make the right decision." Later that night, after the last patron had left, Mark and Sarah sat down to discuss Michael's offer. Emily had already fallen asleep in a cozy corner of the restaurant, her innocent face a reminder of how far they had come. "Sarah, what do you think about expanding Savory Haven?" Mark asked, excitement and trepidation mingling in his voice. Sarah took a deep breath, considering the possibilities. It's a big step, Mark. But I believe in us and I believe in what we've built here. If we can bring the same passion and quality to other locations, it could be amazing. Mark reached for her hand, his eyes filled with love and determination. I couldn't do this without you, Sarah. You're the heart and soul of Savory Haven. Together, I know we can make this a success. Sarah smiled, her eyes shining with hope and determination. Then let's do it, Mark. Let's take this chance and see where it leads. With their decision made, Mark and Sarah knew they were stepping into a new chapter of their lives. They have faced betrayal and hardship, but together they have found redemption and the promise of new beginnings. Their journey was a testament to the power of resilience, passion, and the transformative power of love. As they looked around the now empty restaurant, they felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. Savory Haven had been more than just a place to eat. It had become a symbol of their shared dream and hard-won success. Hand in hand, Mark and Sarah knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together with Emily by their side, ready to embrace the new adventures that awaited them.